Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's get to a topic that is, I think, for nerds. Sorry, actually, we'll rewind that a little bit. Let's get to a topic that's for true comic fans, people who are. Look. By the way, every now and then somebody sends me an angry letter like, "Hey, you talk about like comic fans, like nerds, how dare you?" It's like, look, buddy. First of all, I'm being funny, maybe not funny. I'm being light-hearted. And I personally possess and what feels like an infinite number of long boxes and comics. So, I count myself in this group. So whatever disparaging thing you think I ever say about comic collectors, trust me, I'm part of that group. Buddy, I I'm willing to bet that 99.9% of you have fewer comics than me at home. And that's not a brag. It's to basically throw down that I'm a bigger nerd than you. I have more of this shit in my house than you guys do. And it is look, so if you ever hear me talking disparagingly about comic collectors, just know it's self-deprecating long before it ever hits you. But anyway, this I think is a pretty good topic because it can go in a lot of different directions. So let's intro this out. And then interested to hear your comments and your thoughts on it. So it's called Finite Characters. This mail says, "Hello, Perch." Hello. Perch P. Perchington here. It says, are some characters meant or made to be used only once, or at least up to a point, and then remain in our collective memory, forever frozen in their best moments? I think the answer is completely yes, but let's see where the rest of this mail goes. It says, for instance, Frank Miller has said that Elektra was only created so that she could die at the end of his storyline and was never meant to come back. The Beyonder is another character whose story, for me, ended with Secret Wars 2. To be fair, to me, it ended with Secret Wars 1. I think McElhaney only meant to use Carnage once, and Kirby did not want to bring back Galactus ever. It's up to debate as far as each individual character is concerned, but I'd love to hear what you and the listeners think on the subject. Do some great characters get irreparably damaged cheaper every time they're recycled? Thanks for everything. Really glad you're still around. God bless. Happy New Year. Thank you very much. I think this is a great topic because the short answer here is absolutely. Several of these characters are not meant to keep going. They're meant to exist, serve a storyline, and be done. And I'll give you like the couple classic examples. We could do them all from Spider-Man, for that matter. Uncle Ben was meant to die and be the spiritual motivation, the moral compass for Peter Parker Spider-Man. In effect, and Gail Simone's going to love this one, he was in effect fridged in order to help the white male character. A white male died so a white male character could have a better story. That was fundamentally what I do. The whole fridging movement kind of drives me crazy because when these blogs were written and people kind of went nuts about it, it's like in comics, I don't know if you knew this, but women are sometimes killed in order to make the male plot work. I'm like, bitch, men were killed so that men's plots could work. Like that's comics. Characters are killed in order to make characters work. I give, for example, the Punisher's children, which was 2/3 female and 1/3 male. Or Uncle Ben, which was, in theory, all male. I mean, I don't know what Anne May could have been up to some freaky shit. I mean, she did try and marry Doc Ock, so who knows what he's going to do with all those arms. But anyway, this is comics. You often have a story like that. Bruce Wayne's parents died in service of Bruce Wayne. That's kind of the nature of that whole thing. But a better example than Spider-Man, or another example, not a better one, because Uncle Ben is a pretty goddamn good example. Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy was meant to die to further trauma and tragedy. That was the point of Gwen Stacy. And there's nothing wrong with this, by the way. First of all, this is fiction. So whenever I see people getting really up in arms about, like, this comic killed off a blank character, it's like, yeah, but they were fake. I mean, these were pretend characters. These were, storyline characters. It's okay if they're dead. But Gwen Stacy was introduced in the comics. There was a storyline there. They basically used her to have the storyline with her dad. And then there was a little bit of a, Peter Parker dating somebody. But ultimately, Gwen Stacy dying was the point of Gwen Stacy. And so Gwen Stacy was never meant to come back. And, one thing that's kind of odd about Spider-Man in general is you'd think with Spider-Gwen swinging around, Peter Parker, like this is what would happen. So Mark Miller, who is, of course, doing his own comics right now, if he was still in Marvel and they put Mark Miller in charge of writing Spider-Man, I feel like Mark Miller would absolutely do a storyline where Peter Parker got a little hammered one night as Spider-Man and then took a run at Spider-Gwen. Because he'd have to, right? Like, she's right there. Like, why have they never had Peter Parker awkwardly try and hook up with Spider-Gwen? Now, you may say, oh, it's an age difference, but it's not really an age difference. I mean, it's comic. Like, how old is Peter Parker? Anyone? Late 20s? Like, who knows? Like, I mean, based on Marvel's sliding timescale thing, he could be anywhere from, 22 to 50. I mean, nobody knows. But I'm thinking he's like late 20s, early 30s. Spider-Gwen is what? Older than 18. Well, we've seen her drink, so older than 21. So it's fair game. As they say, grass on the playing field, play ball. And I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's terrible. Anyway, but the point is, yes, many of these characters were created in order to serve a different storyline. As you heard, Frank Miller, Elektra was built to be killed. That was her purpose. Now she's, still running around now as the, female man without fear. Oh, sorry. So if I say you're a misogynist, say female, the woman, man without fear. See, that's much better. Now I'm an enlightened male. I jest because this word policing is stupid. But that was what she was designed for. She was designed to serve the storyline of Daredevil. Now, you may not like Daredevil. You don't really like the character being created, in effect, to just die and be part of somebody else's story. But it's true. That was the purpose. Now, to also be fair, some writers have come along and written some pretty damn good storylines with Elektra. I think there are some pretty good Elektra stories out there. So, it's a good thing that she didn't remain dead. But absolutely, there are characters in comics that are designed to basically, be around so they can be killed. And comics being what comics are, it's often what if they didn't die? I know, let's do a story like that. And that tends to be what screws a lot of comics up, because in the purpose of comics is to create compelling stories that you're going to remember and, have a, emotional tug for you and sell copies. And so when you go to the well of killing people off too fast, I mean, arguably when Chris Claremont killed off Jean Grey, he helped bring her back later, but when he killed her off, the purpose there was it was going to give Cyclops a big storyline. It was also going to raise the stakes. It was going to say that, the X-Men and their journey and what they were doing was not all safe. It meant that people could die and, anything could happen. And so that was, this was a good thing. But of course, Marvel being Marvel or DC being DC, or these companies that are designed to go on for perpetuity, say, hey, it'd be pretty cool. What if Jean Grey wasn't dead? And then, you do a story around that. And you just, to infinity. And that's kind of the problem we have now. It's the same thing. Critical Drinker did a video that my wife and I, especially her, because she's been saying this for years. So technically, the Critical Drinker, stole from her. So fuck that guy. No, I'm kidding. But she's been saying this for years. The multiverse, the problem with the multiverse is that in effect, it simultaneously removes the stakes of the things that are happening, because once you have the multiverse, I mean, does anything really matter? I mean, this is the thing that Rick and Morty have very successfully done, is that it's kind of drilled in the point that, in an infinite bunch of realities with infinite people, do you really care if somebody dies? Because it does not matter. But in addition to lowering the stakes, the close companion to that is that in order to have any kind of meaning to any of the stories, you have to raise the threat to a level that makes no logical sense. So you basically it's now in the original Avengers, it's like, oh shit, Thanos and some alien guys are coming to Earth to blow it all up and cause some damage. And I remember when that movie came out, and when Zack Snyder's Superman came out, there was all these articles about this is disaster porn. Basically people coming in and showing a lot of destruction and everything else, and this is bad. But little did people know that you went from there to Avengers 2, where Ultron is also trying to take over the Earth and cause a lot of destruction. Okay, fine. But if you watch Avengers 2, they're like, we're going to put this, meteor into not meteor, sorry, we're going to raise the Slovakia up into the air and then smash it down to the ground. This would cause an extinction event to part of Europe. Like a bunch of Europeans are going to die. It's like, holy shit, this would be the worst thing ever. And then several years later, it's like Thanos is going to destroy half the life in the entire universe. And a couple of years later, we're on a Disney Plus series and you're on Loki. And there's like, God damn it, if we can't get the loom working with the sacred timeline, the entire multiverse and every infinite reality is going to collapse in and on itself and pluck and blow up everything. By the time you get to that point, nothing matters at all, which is why, somebody like an Uncle Ben or a Spider-Gwen, I was going to say Gwen Stacy, or, Bruce Wayne's parents, or more recently, Alfred, or, Nightwing's parents, or like any of these people who die, it's good that they stay dead, because the purpose of them is to advance the fictional story along. And if you start screwing around with that, then nothing matters at all. And then you basically have nothing. So while it may be sad for Bruce Wayne's parents to die, or Uncle Ben to die, or Gwen Stacy to die, and we might be compelled to say, well, but what if Gwen Stacy was around and horn it up? Like, even though that might be an interesting storyline, it's not, it's an addiction. It's not healthy. And there you go. Anyway, thanks for listening. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.